Hello.
Hello, hello. How you doing, David?
Fine. You?
Doing all right. So Andreas said he would not be able to make it. So it's just gonna be us, I think. But let me pull up the doc and we can get started. And then I think last time when we talked, I just want to make sure um that we did decide on async, right? Does that sound familiar?
Yes,
Okay.
but we have two goals that I didn't work on. Uh, First was to continue a prototype to confirm on a SDK prototype,
Okay.
mainly on the Rust, to generate a basic SDK for the existing small models. And the second goals was to extract the rules that I put as a comment in the schema to start discussing what change, what breaking change we accept and which one we should try to avoid.
Okay. All right. So can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And then, okay. So let's capture that real quick. Modeling language updates. Let's see. Okay. And then, okay. So async API has been decided on. But what breaking changes are considered okay. Um yeah, so I think we're okay in terms of breaking changes, but we want to obviously try to avoid them where we can. Um so so I think the main issue is making the models the same, which I think we could probably do, or at least get 99% there, right?
No, there is one. The main problem is that with we have this problem with every every solution I explored is how to define the type. Today, the type is a subfield of context, and automatic tools, serializer, etc.,
Mhm.
expect that the type is defined as an inside field or a sibling fields of the structure, but not as a child field of a sibling structure. So we have the main breaking change, I could say, is to move this type field
Mhm.
inside the subject. And what we also discuss what the I push this more on the current experimentation I did.
Okay.
It's why
Let's see.
what you list in the what you put in the abstract last time is also to have two levels, one for the subject type, and
Mhm.
inside the subject type having a predicate type, and not one type for
Ah,
both.
yes, yes. Okay, so let me make sure I'm
Nearly like
understanding. So you're
we
saying
will.
this context type is providing
Yes,
an issue?
yes, exactly. It's mainly why I have to create a lot of custom stuff, at least for us. But I think it's the same for Java, and it's also the same for some for schema validation.
Okay.
Today, for schema validation all those language, it uses what is named often discriminator,
Hmm.
and discriminator rely on a child field, not on a child field of a sibling structure. I mean, the type should be below subject. It is the most common approach in OpenAPI, Async API, etc. It's not support by JSON schema. At least
Hmm.
it was support in previous draft version, but they remove it. And because it's used for polymorphisms, it is why OpenAPI and Async API reintroduce it, but as a child field. And also they use a different approach between both, and depending of the level, but often the value of the discriminator is the name of a schema inside it. It's not dev.cd events dot whatever. It's a completely different value.
Okay. Okay. So I said I was going to do this last time, but I'm going to do it right now because I've been just so swamped. So let's create a new milestone. Let's call this modeling language. Let me just make the date. I'll just create the milestone. We'll just update it as needed. But all right, let's create a few issues then. So I think the first issue, it sounds like we need to identify breaking changes when switching to async API. So by moving to a modeling language, we are introducing potential breaking changes. For example, the type field in the context. And the reason why the type field is an issue is because it sounds like that's used specifically for polymorphism. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the reason for that is that the type field in many languages like Java, I'm familiar because Java relies on the type field to actually do
It's
polymorphism.
for Java. I don't know, but the this often this SDK generator to manage polymorphism rely on discriminator in OpenAPI in Async tools. So we have to follow this discriminator approach.
Mm-hmm.
So it will ease a lot tooling because they know how to handle it and how they have to create a subject, etc., etc.
I wonder if we can avoid this. Okay, so all right, we'll just keep it as is right now. So I'm just gonna label them. So type field in context may present issues due to polymorphism. Okay, and then two, uh, then okay, so that we can just leave this as is, but we can just keep it open. But
I have the full list, at least the change I made.
okay.
So
Yeah, feel free to just update this as needed. But I just added it to the milestone of modeling language, and then we can just go ahead and then let's also do move start let's actually do one subject at a time. Move um SDKs over to use async API. Oh, come on. API incrementally by subject. Okay. This issue outlines the approach we will use to incrementally move from. I don't know if we can do it incrementally if it introduces breaking changes though. That's
increment. No, it will be, I guess, maybe a big bang. One thing I saw about was already maybe for the for the change between for the SDK, it no, it will not be done incrementally.
Yeah, I'm gonna just say, if possible, move from our custom generators and JSON schema to async API. Okay. Uh, to do outline how to do this incrementally if possible. Okay. So I'll add that also to the milestone here. Great. And then let's see. And then documentation is also another one. Can documentation be generated from async API? I'll just leave this empty for now because I don't know how else to word it. But is there anything else that we should add issue wise? Because like I said, this is more of an epic move SDK, so we can probably create like subtasks for this, like sub issue, for example. Um,
Yes, I'm not able to copy paste what I want in the chat. Um, if you go to the link I share on the chat,
in the chat here. Oh, you mean in? How do I open up the chat? There it is. Okay.
okay, the top, you see the command at the top. It's where I list all the change I made on the schema or the form. So
Oh,
for the
okay.
ticket, we could start by copy paste
Yeah.
this
Okay.
section.
Cool.
I will edit it to provide more example, and then we could split into subtask. But
All right. Yeah. This works. Okay, cool. So we'll just I wonder what this looks like. Oh God. Yep. One second.
if you want to just as a start with a triple backcut,
I can just do this easily in Vim, so it'll be easier.
or
Yeah.
it's I follow the markdown syntax. You can remove the dash color and the dash at the beginning of each line.
Yeah, that's what I did in Vim, just to make it easier. All right.
The first sentence is so it's not in these files because it's into the other the file
which
heading.
one?
The first
Here.
comment, the first line was in this file. I start from this page.
Gotcha.
You can
In this,
copy the link to this page if you want, because it's also on this file
yeah.
on the file below that I provide samples.
Yeah. Okay, this should be good then. Let me see. This might let me see if I can change the okay. Yeah. This should be fine for now. We can always clean this up, look a little, make it look a little bit nicer later. But okay, cool. So this is really good. And then we can do filter by model languages. Now we have okay. And then what's good about this one, we have sub issues. And I got moved to Rust, and then we'll do move go SDK to async API. Great. And then
The purpose of the first is to validate. When I talk about Rust, is to validate to say we have a full, at least we have a sample of the definition of the sorry. Um, we the goal is to start small. I could say it, to have few types, a few subjects and few predicates converted. It's what I made in my in the repository, and it's from those from this schema, try to generate a full SDK and see if something missing, how easy it is,
yeah.
what kind of guidance we on tips we could say, hey, write your JavaScript code this way to or another way, because we have to learn the tooling. And then we could change the rules when we will add Go, Type3, Python.
Yeah. Okay, I just put validate async API generation here. This is very generic, but we can always add to this and then create sub issues if needed. But okay, let me see my languages, and then we got this one. Okay, so
maybe I will add some acceptance criteria, because today I just try to generate raw source code without generating the test, without running a single serialization, deserialization to read.
gotcha. Okay. So now if we go back here, we go to milestones, we should get all, okay, cool. We got all the languages, etc. Okay, so we have validate, we got move the SDK. I think we also have Python here, but we can always add that later.
Yes,
documentation.
The target from the table, it's Java, Python, Go, Rust, and maybe JavaScript or TypeScript if it's not too long.
Yeah, definitely. Let's add milestone here. Okay. And if we do a good job, generating new SDK should be easy. That's if we do a good job. So, let's see.
Generate a new SDK will not be easy, at least not the first time, because we have to write all the tooling.
Yeah, everything.
But updating, release a new version of the SDK when we update the schema should become easier.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I'll also move this to the modeling language because
maybe we could automate the generation, etc.
Okay, so I'm gonna close this issue with we have decided upon async API. It seems to be the best fitting solution, and there could be other better solutions. However, with our deep dive on the various known modeling languages, we wanted to make some decision rather than spending too much time on investigation. So we have chosen async API to move forward on the generation of generating SDKs. All right, cool. And then let me link async API as well. Async API here.
You have the link, one comment above, in fact.
Which one? Here?
In the ticket, yes.
Oh, right here. Perfect. Copy link address. Comment. All right, perfect. Perfect. And then, I should also thank all right, great. All right, perfect. So now we've got that closed. All right, so I should not have closed that. No, what are you doing? Okay. Go back to github.com, CDF Events. Station one group. All right. Performance tests. Okay, cool. And then in terms of the breaking changes here, let me just kind of go through it and we can kind of like walk through, maybe we can add a little bit more details. So one type per subject, what does that mean? Is that the type field, or does that mean the type that's generated, for instance, like
this one is not it's not strictly mandatory. It's I try to have a better split. So the two first one are the same. It's one type per subject and a different type for predicate.
Hmm.
I mean, today in the JSON, subject and predicate are mixed in the same structure. They are not really split. Um, it's it's very similar to one previous ticket that we
I see what you mean.
close,
Yeah.
where we
Yeah.
say having one subject and as a sibling field having predicate.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the idea is instead of having predicate as a sibling field, but having predicate as a child field, and to have them very separated. It means that when we generate, we have the subject
But
and we have a child field that say it is this predicate, but the subject
yeah.
is
Yeah.
structure is
Okay.
always the same. Today, it's not exactly the case. If we look,
But
I
you have to
think
make, I understand, but the issue is we need subject, but so the reason why it looks like that is actually because of this. Let me see if I can show an example. Why the hell is it so hard to find an example? God damn it. Let's see. Um,
but as I said, something I try. It's not something for the migration. It's something we could say we s- we still have uh, both. Why I also split them? It's because I try to generate the documentation also from the specification.
mhm.
And in the documentation, we have a clear separation between subject and predicate.
Yeah, yeah. So the reason why it's like that is because Cloud Events looks like that. So Cloud Events basically has that's a horrible. Why is this so hard to find an example? Like what the hell? Maybe working drafts? Let's see.
Cloud Event has also mixed also either content mixed into the body, etc. So it's also why it's also
But
why I think Cloud Events it's not so quickly adopted. I could say is because it starts to become overcomplicated for a lot of stuff.
yeah, but I think we can solve that just in the subject though. Like that's not an issue. Yeah. So they have like context and then okay, whatever. Like, yeah, I don't know why it's so hard to find an example for that. I'll find it later and kind of like expand on that. But instead of what we could do is what I'm thinking um is right now we have due to CD events, we have this context object, right? Which has some information, and then we have this subject, right? Inside of the subject, we can just have maybe just predicate, like split it in there. I think it needs to look like this because of how CD events is, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's why.
It,
Um,
what you wrote, it's what I try in my experiment, and it's also
oh,
why
you
I
did.
say
Ah,
I
okay,
have
okay.
one type for subject, and in subject I have a field predicate where I
Okay,
could
okay.
have started, stopped, whatever, and all the field related to the predicate are part of the predicate, but there are no.
Gotcha.
And sometimes today we have some field directly under subject
Mhm.
that are not related to the subject itself, but more depending
On the
of the
predicate.
which predicate we are activating.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
And it's
I like that. Yeah, because what I thought you meant, so this is why I was a little concerned. What I thought you were doing is like you had subject like this, and then you had like a predicate on the outside, which I don't think we could do with CD or cloud events. So okay, so this is fine as long as we make that distinction. We
and
would
if
have
we
yeah.
yes, and the difference. So what I did in is that under subject I add a field I name it kind to, but it's the same
Yeah,
meaning that
yeah.
type, and I did the same for predicate. Uh,
Mhm.
why I don't use type? It's because it's a reserved word. It's a keyword in a lot
Can we
of
do
language.
this? We can have, instead of the predicate, it could be literally the predicate. I just use predicate here, but like for instance, like we have the subject, right? Um, and let's say we do ticket closed, right? Inside of ticket closed, it would just be closed, for example. So inside of the SDK, it would be a union type basically. So when, let's say the model, let's use Java for example, would be a public class, let's say ticket, uh, and then inside of the ticket would be all the predicates. It would be like or like maybe it's like closed predicate or something like that, right? And then closed, um, and then and then if open or updated predicate updated, right? And then it would just be, these would be null except for the one that it chose, basically, if that makes sense.
No, because with this type structure, it means that we could have closed and updated.
Sure, but yeah, but
In reality,
yeah, but it's a union type, right? So if there's two that are set, then we would fail on that and saying, only one could be set at a time. And what you could do is enforce that with, like you said, like the kind field, like you would have a kind here to kind of like help enforce which type it was
no,
chosen.
the way it's translated, it's we have a predicate, a field predicate of type predicate, and predicate could be close predicate or updated predicate or etc. And we have to check the type to see if it's close, update, or etc.
Gotcha. Okay. But then
In fact, the kind, the field kind
yeah,
will not
yeah.
exist in a structured language because it's encoded directly in the type. So some serialization tools doesn't expose it. They just say, oh, it's the name of the type.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it depends on the serialization, or depends on the
Yes.
yeah, yeah. But no, but that's going too high of an abstract. I'm just saying, like, this is what it would look like when it's generated, and then the serializer, if the generation's smart enough, like it could get rid of this. But like I said, this is just kind of the idea of a union type. Rather than, I guess what I'm saying, rather than relying on polymorphism, we could rely just on something like this. Is what I was getting at.
Um, no, the issue with this approach is that we could create invalid type. I mean, when we serialize or deserialize, we should not have any logic that say, if I have this value in this field, then I could not have this value into another field. So it's why we rely on polymorphism. In this case, it's
But it's the
polymorphisms.
same, it's literally the same thing though. Like you have to do an instance of, it's literally the same thing.
Yes, but you enforce the fact that you could not have the two could not be set at the same times.
That's the same for the kind though. Like literally that's
No, in if we have the I guess you mean a predicate kind.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
when we instantiate the class, I can field, I can set the value, I can have a non-null value for closed and for updated.
But that's true for even the other, even with polymorphism. Like when you
No,
send it
because I
over,
have one field.
no, it doesn't matter. You're sending it over the byte wire. Like when you set both of these, it would fail in the SDK level. So it would be
It's
the same thing.
no,
It
it will not
would,
be,
trust
it
me.
will not, it could not yes, but we allow the code to create invalid types. And when we work with um, type enforced, we try to avoid as much as possible this creation of invalid type by defining in the type structure to say it's this or it's this without looking at the value of another field. It's directly encoded to have one field predicate, and inside predicate it could be just the, the, the the type. The also one this in some language it's also allowed to have enum with different subfield. I see if I can share an editor. It will be easier. No. What is this ticket? It's on CD Events. Can you share the link of the ticket in the chat?
Yeah. This one?
Yes.
Okay. 1 sec. Let me figure out how to open. Okay.
I don't know. No, it's well, we don't have the edit. Maybe we can use the page of.
What are you talking about? This? You're looking for this?
No, it's sorry. No, I tried to see if I could edit on your comment at the same time, but it's not.
Oh, this comment you made, right?
Yes, so it's not possible. Can you switch on the Markdown
Yeah.
page?
No, just
No.
I'll just
On
paste it, and then you
on
can.
the Markdown page, because on the Markdown page we can see the page. The meeting notes. Can you switch?
Yeah.
So yes, it's visible. If you scroll a little.
Yeah. Let's see it here.
So what I mean is we will remove it after the meeting. But it means that if we have a subject blah blah and predicate and say kind close. In this case, it will be ticket, because type should be unique names. It means that in the other language, you will have something like class ticket. Say kind. And you always have to look at the predicate, and the predicate will be of type ticket
Predicate. Yeah.
predicate. And then you have, if it's an enum or general enum, it could be a parent, but it's ticket predicate. And then you have ticket open, ticket close, etc. But it could also become an abstract class.
Yeah. I mean, I understand this, but what I'm getting at is why.
Because with this approach, we are sure that when we have a ticket, it is valid. It is a valid. We don't have to look at another field to know if. So when someone creates, the field could not be open and closed at the same time.
No, that's also true for the other one too. You just do, the generator would validate that.
But the generator, in this case, it means that we could not. We have to introduce some kind of specific logic into the generator that we don't have to with the way existing generators are working on base.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, depending on whether or not it supports union types. That really comes down to the generator, right? Let me see if async API union types. But if it supports union types, because the reason why I say that is I'd probably be more in favor of a union type if the generator supports it. Because that way it's more obvious that, you know, this is like closed, for example, as opposed to just being predicate. But you know, like you said, that's just me. But I don't think it matters too much, to be honest, because like I said, we're kind of getting into the weeds of a little bit of you know, how we want to, I guess, model. Oh, I guess that's what we're talking about. So I guess that's fine. But I like to avoid inheritance, basically. That's more my approach. I feel like inheritance, you can get into a little bit of trouble, especially with languages that might not support it. Like Go, for example, if we ever did a C SDK, that would also have issues. And we'd have to rely on unions either way. So I'm curious to see how Go supports this. It probably just makes this a blanket interface, which will be, which kind of sucks, but that's just kind of like how the nature of things. But that's where I'm coming from, is for languages that don't support polymorphism. I'm curious to see what that generation looks like.
We could. I will try to launch the project.
Because I have a feeling in Go, it looks like this, right? So I'm going to say this is Go. It probably does, you know, type ticket strut, right? And then this predicate is probably just predicate, and or it's empty interface, which might be even worse, right? So it could be that, or it could be predicate, which is a type alias, for this interface.
I will look. It's what you wrote: type ticket struct predicate. It's not an interface from the code I generated in my sample. It creates a ticket predicate type. Create a ticket.
So does it look like this, where it's a type alias?
And for in this case, it's artifact, and then I will show you. I will copy paste the sample for artifact. Which is
so this is an interface.
And for the ticket, it's look.
Oh, so it uses a union. Yeah. So this uses a union type inside of Go, basically. So this is going to be, so you're going to get the same issue that you were. So that's going to, like, if we add a created, it's going to just add to that, which is basically a union type inside of Go.
No,
So
if you just above for the artifacts struct, I have one field predicate.
I understand, but if you look at this definition, right, this artifact predicate, if you have artifact deleted and then this artifact created, it's gonna add, basically what this is saying in Go is this is that class. It's basically with two fields, with artifact created and artifact deleted.
No, it's yeah.
And
Yes.
then if these have the same names in it, like let's say created has foo
Yeah,
and deleted have foo, this is gonna have a compile error and it would have to generate something different.
but in it means that, but if I look at the artifact, when I read the artifact struct, I have only one field predicate.
You
So
have one field, but it's just wrapped. It's just wrapping that one field with the union type
it
here.
means it's one of the three value possible.
No, it's not. It's not really a union type. Basically, it's base. You could just think of Go when you expand this. Really, what Go is doing here with this strut, this artifact deleted is just this. So artifact deleted is just artifact kind of like this, except it's embedding all the fields. So if we take a look at what artifact deleted looks like, it's embedding those fields directly. So if we have name string, for example, and then maybe we have age int, that gets embedded here. So this becomes name string, age int. But like I said, the problem though is when you have artifact created and it has those same fields, this is gonna be different. Like the code generator might make this like created name, for example, created age to prevent that collision. So you might have to you'll have to look at to see how async API handles collisions with this type because like I said, it embeds it directly into the strut.
Okay, I will look at how.
Yeah, because it would have So like I said, it's doing kind of the same thing. It's doing the same thing in that it embeds the fields directly into the structure. So we just need to make sure that however it handles this, because a lot of these are going to have the same fields, right? Like artifact created and artifact delete. Like 90% of our predicates have the same um same fields, and so we just need to make sure that Go doesn't go crazy and like create these like however it handles collision and goes crazy with like the naming. We just need to make sure that that's handled properly, or if it's
For artifact deleted, artifact created, it's the
Mhm.
name I put in the specification because um, in the specification I have to create one top level for the one top level types. There are no package, no grouping. So I explicitly name those fields artifact deleted, artifact created.
Yeah. I mean, I understand. Like I said, however this is modeled, like we have to be careful with this. Is what I'm saying. So, uh, if you can do a little bit of research on how this is generated, with like collisions, and just make sure that it doesn't go too crazy, or or maybe it doesn't. And worst case is that it doesn't handle it. So it might generate this, but it'll do this, right? That's worst case solution. Uh,
Let me, I think, because it's part of the stuff I try to have in the language.
mhm.
The collision I would like to test.
Yeah.
Let me know in this file spec task run. I have task name URI. Environment. Test case. Trigger type. Artifact. I don't have. I have empty predicate. That means just
Mhm.
the name in in the sample I try, but I don't have multiple predicates in the same subject with the same field.
Okay. So yeah, you might need to just add one just like as a test case, and just see how the generator handles this in Go. Because if it doesn't handle this, then we'll need to figure out how to resolve this in Go, because like this is going to be a big issue. And if it does handle it, but prefixes it with like creative, for example, then that's going to look weird for people as well, right?
Yes, so it's already something that looks like weird, I could say. It's
Mhm.
for it's, as I mentioned, for every predicate, I use the subject name as a prefix for every predicate, because I have to differentiate the predicate of artifacts, the predicate
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
of task run, etc. So as I mentioned previously, you can look at the spec I already defined in the
Yeah, yeah.
spec basis.
But this is why I was saying union types, is because to get away from this and Go, because I knew this was going to be an issue. But if it handles it okay enough, we might be able to get away with it. But it really just depends on how it's handled. But I have a feeling it's not going to handle it nice, because like I said, in Go, there's no easy way of handling this without some crazy logic in the generator, which I doubt they did. So, but like I said, I don't want to, say I doubt they did and, just assume the worst case. Let's test it and see what they do, right?
Yes, if you want, on the sample project where I did
Where this
my
one
test,
here? Oh
I
wait,
did
where'd it
I
go?
didn't commit the
This
generated.
one.
Yes, this one. I provide the instruction for people if they want to generate and to use it.
Mhm.
But you can, if you want, I can commit some of the generated code that I show in the previous meeting, so you can
Yeah,
look
yeah,
directly at what looks, what is the what what what's how it looks in Go, JSON, etc.
yeah, yeah. I think what we could do too is we can say we need to generate or Go and Java or Rust or any OO language.
Today, without I generate for Go, Python, and Rust
Okay, cool.
for the sample.
Concepts which can
But
really
it's
can
without customization, without
model OO and the modeling language completely to the generator handled, which may be handled well or poorly. So okay, so let's take a look at that. So yeah. So please create a PR or commit it, and I could just take a look. But yeah, definitely we want to make sure that it doesn't generate poor Go code. And you know,
but as I also said, for Rust, I know that what is generated by default is very poor and not the state of the art. I could say it's also regarding the existing SDK. It's also why I look at how to create our own generator above our own
right,
templates,
right. Okay, we
and
might
it's
need to do
also
that
what will
then.
take time. So
Yeah.
it's
But I
to
guess, well, it's not even just poor. It's like, well, I mean, it is poor, but like my worry with Go is it starts to nest. Like, if we go back to the meeting note, it starts to nest like this. Like it might be created. And then if we go another level deep, it might be created and then created, updated, for example. So depending on how far we nest, it might just get crazier and crazier. And that's something that I think we should try to avoid if possible. But like I said, it just kind of depends completely on the generator. And if it doesn't handle collisions at all, we'll get this and it won't even compile. So, we just need to make sure that it does handle it in some vein. Um, and and depending on how it's handled, we can always abstract that away later on with our own custom generator, or just handle it manually in this SDK, which I think is fine, but we just need to figure that out. So yeah, please commit that and let me take a look, because that, once we figure out how it generates the differences between OO versus non-OO languages, it'll kind of give us an idea on what the approach should be. If that makes sense.
Yes, but yes, the constraint is from the same specification we will have to generate for language with very different approach of structure. It's also why lot of specification language are very minimal, and it's why
Yes,
it's hard to
yes.
have good generator.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah. And like I said, that's what I was thinking, like maybe a union type, because like I said, I have a lot of experience with code generators, and I always know that Go and C always have issues with OO. That's why I'm just really curious to see how async handles it. But if they do a good job, or a good enough job where we can kind of just put a band-aid over it, I'm more than fine handling it, going with like this OO way. But like I said, it just completely depends. So let's table that. Let's get the commit up, and then I can take a look, and then we can kind of discuss there for the next meeting as well. And hopefully on the next meeting too, we could start, kind of cranking away at some of these GitHub issues as well, if that makes sense.
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, well, let's kind of, because I feel like we went over a lot, so let's kind of cut it short today. Plus, I have a lot of stuff that I need to do. I'm gonna keep this in the notes, because I think it kind of gives us a better idea. Um,
But
issue.
without context, it will not be
Yeah, I
relevant.
know. That's why I was gonna add a little bit of context. Issue on code generating. Yeah, actually, just delete it. Um, because yeah, I think it's just gonna confuse people. But yeah, they can just always go back to the meeting and look at it later. But yeah, so let's let's continue this for next week as well. So as on top of that, I talked to Andrea, and the reason why he's had issues meeting these last couple of weeks for CD events, the SIG meetings, is because his I think he had something to do with his family. So it's just these last couple of weeks, it's gonna get better going forward. So we don't need to merge these meetings, I don't think. But if it makes sense, we can. But this is more focused on dealing with the SDKs and like, for example, if we move this to the SIG meeting, we would have the whole hour would have been discussed on this one topic, right? So I think that's why we separated them. But if it makes sense, we can always merge them. But I think it makes sense to keep them separate as is, because like I said, we would have spent the whole conversation just talking about how Go generates versus another OO language. So
Yes, but today we have some kind of overlap because we discuss how to change the spec also.
that is true. That is true. But we can always bring that forward though. But yeah, we definitely need to bring some of these to the spec as well as the spec sig. But once we have more information on that, because it's still kind of like ephemeral right now, where it might be different or it might not be. So what we need to see, right? But I definitely liked the separation though between the predicate and the subject. I think that's a good change. And we should definitely shoot for that in the next SIG meeting next week. So if you're able to join, you can bring that topic, but if you're not, just let me know and I could bring that to the next SIG discussion about potentially changing that to have that separation there in the subject
For
JSON blob.
the meeting on Monday, I have also often a conflict because I have,
Okay.
so it's sometimes I don't have and I join, but maybe this day I have
Got a
exactly
conflict. Okay. All
yes,
right. Yeah. Just let me
as
know.
last year.
Okay. All right. All right. Works for me then. All right. Yeah. Just like I said, just let me know. And then I can always just give the full context there and see what Andrea says. And if we can move forward with it, then we get to start cranking away at that. Because like I said, it's gonna change all the models. So we might want to do that sooner rather than later. Sound good?
On my case, on Monday, it will be easier for me if we move it half an hour later at 30 at 30 by example.
Okay, half an hour later. Let me ask Andrea then, if that would work. I think he is okay with that, but let me ask him. Okay.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Let me ask Andrea. Let me put that in the notes. Ask to move spec sig to half an hour later for giving. All right, cool. Let me ask him, and then I think that should not be an issue. But yeah, I'll let you know. All right.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Thanks again, David. It's always good talking, like shooting, like getting some code, looking at the differences and seeing how the generator is going to play nicely with the different OO languages. Always really appreciate all the work that you do. And I'll look forward to seeing how the conflict is handled in the Go generator. But I'll talk to you again in the next week. Worst case in 2 weeks. All right.
Yes,
All
exactly.
right. Sounds good. I'll talk to you then. All right. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.